This is Fritz Frivolous with continuous live coverage of the corner of Curious Lane and Just Because Boulevard, the epicenter of the alien invasion. And this just in, King Kong is fighting the Mobile Suit Gundam. And of course, all of this is happening amidst World War IV, making it pure pandemonium. If only Captain Planet were still alive to save us all. Dude, could you imagine? When an actor is eating food in a scene, there is a lot of movie magic that happens to ensure that the food appears and sounds delicious. Sometimes water or a little oil is sprayed on food just before eating it so that it looks fresh and more appealing. Foley artists may record sounds from other objects or foods to create more crunching sounds when an actor takes a bite. But what happens when the food the actor is eating is supposed to be from another planet or universe? What if the food being eaten doesn't exist in our world? What would butterbeer actually taste like? Are Scooby snacks really that delicious? Let us break bread with two fictional food critics, Will and Tom, as they try to dish out an answer. Welcome back, everybody. This is Tom Case.
This is Will Stark.
Will, both of our questions today are going to be somewhat related.
Okay.
But it may not be the reason why you think.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, you definitely know our friend and coworker, Haley.
Yes.
She actually kind of inspired these questions because, she was talking about like a certain food that she would see on a cartoon. And every time she would watch this, like she would always want to eat this food, right? I'm not going to name anything because it's going to tie into the second question.
Okay. All right.
But
because that was my first question. What cartoon?
I know. I could see it on your face. You're like, okay, tell me what it, but no. So she started talking about this and we started thinking about it and we were like, what other universe's food would you like to try and taste? And I don't mean, it can't be like, it's, let's say we chose the Harry Potter universe, right? Mm-hmm. Well, don't choose like, I want to eat that chicken I saw at their long haul, on the table. No. Like something that doesn't exist in our world, but is fictional that you've always thought, man, I wonder what that tastes like. That looks so good.
I mean, to be fair, Harry Potter feasts are such a big part of the books. Like, yeah, that's all. Growing up, reading those books, I always wanted to be able to like go to their Christmas or their Halloween festival and just partake of their meal because it looks amazing.
Especially, I think it's. I know you're talking about the books. Yeah. I don't know if it's like this, if they describe this, but in the movie, mm-hmm. I think the first scene that they have in that great hall when they're mm-hmm. eating, mm-hmm. I think it shows Ron Weasley having two pieces of, two drumsticks, like mm-hmm. chicken drumsticks, yeah. and he's just like eating one, and it looked delicious. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, the food and the way it's described, the movies do a pretty good job because it is like that in the books.
Exactly.
So you're thinking like, oh, I want to try butterbeer, or I want to try the hopping chocolate frogs, something fictional that doesn't exist in our universe.
Yeah, true. But maybe you never had this experience. I don't know if anything that you watched, probably mostly maybe something from your anime or something animated. Mm-hmm. That's the only kind of thing I could really think of.
A fictional food.
Yeah, like a fictional food. Yeah, okay. Something that does not exist in our world.
Okay. The first thing that pumps into my head is ambrosia from Greek mythology. Right? The nectar of the gods. Like, I think when you drink it, you turn immortal. It's supposed to be, like, so sweet and so amazing. Like, the gods don't allow mortals to have it because they want it all for themselves. Yeah, exactly.
They do not let any mortals want it.
In the game Hades, that's one of your main, like, currencies is bottles mm-hmm. of ambrosia. You actually bribe people with that stuff. So, I mean, I guess that's the first thing that pops in my head. I'd like a bottle of ambrosia. Enjoy that with my fiance.
Yeah, I also think, too, like, I mean... It was most likely they probably didn't want any humans to get it because I think it did make you immortal. I don't know if it gave you powers of a god.
No, but I think it makes you immortal.
But I think it makes you immortal. And obviously, they don't want
I'm going to Google it. Because I'm very curious.
I don't think they would want everyone to be immortal in their world of, especially someone like Hades. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
Which, oddly enough, too, I always thought it was funny how... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, funny that you mentioned that because in the game Hades... Hades throws a big stink. It's not allowed in the underworld.
Ambrosia?
Yeah. And it's all contraband. So you're bribing people under the table. But like he finds out you're not supposed to have that around here, blah, 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 blah. So maybe that's part of it.
Yeah. And it's funny how you're mentioning, we're talking about Hades and Greek mythology when we're talking about this food topic, because I remember always, hearing the mythology of when you're in the underworld, if you're alive and you made it somehow into the underworld, you cannot eat any food or what they used to call like this special food that they could offer you. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if you did, you could never leave. What they were actually talking about was pomegranates.
Yeah, I think I've heard that before.
Which I love. So that would suck for me because
pomegranates are great.
If I didn't know that and they offered me, hey, would you like some pomegranates? Oh, yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
I know. Pomegranates? Of course,
I mean, that's common across mythology, though, of like, don't accept food. Like, that's how the thing will get you. Like, 80 creatures from the Fae, like, if you accept their food, you're now under their power kind of deal.
Yeah.
So here we go. We got, in ancient Greek myths, ambrosia is the food or drink of the Greek gods, often depicted as conferring longevity or immortality upon whoever consumed it. It was brought to the gods in Olympus by doves and served by either Hebe or Ganymede at the heavenly feast. Ambrosia is sometimes depicted in ancient art as distributed by a nymph labeled with that name and a nurse of Dionysus. So, right now I'm going with ambrosia. Ambrosia. That's because mostly it's the only thing that popped into my head. Do you have an example of what you think of?
Well, before we get to that, you know what? I'm just very curious. If ambrosia existed, what type of a flavor palette do you think it would most likely have? Like, do you feel it would be maybe, I don't know, of a citrus nature, or maybe it's, some kind of a bitter, like chocolate type,
every time since I've heard of ambrosia from my young teens, ever like pictured what it would, I always picture it as a drink, number one, not as a food.
Oh, okay.
And I guess I always picture it having a flour and honey type of flavor.
Okay, I agree with you there with the flour and the honey. Okay. To me, I kind of feel like it would have like this, I don't know, citrus honey type.
I think what's colored that perception for me, though, is the fact that the other name for ambrosia is nectar of the gods. And when I think of nectar, I think of flowers.
That's true. And that would also kind of go to the thing about how you said it's like a drink, right?
Yeah,
it
is.
Oddly enough, like every time I remember when I was growing up and would read about these stories, I always pictured it as like a fruit. Something in like the grape kind of family, right? Where you would have like
cranberry.
I don't know if cranberries are like this. Do they grow in like a bunch? Like a grape, you could pick them up and there's like a bunch of them.
You know what? I'm going to Google that right now too. That's great. I don't know how cranberries grow, but I'd like to know.
I know, right?
When I was thinking a bunch of things, the cranberry itself is like, or I'm thinking raspberry, aren't I? The raspberry is the bunch of little berries. All
like the little dot. Like I think that's raspberry. Yeah.
Cranberry tree, right? They come from trees, right?
I don't know. You know what? I just realized I
don't know where food comes from.
You know what I know about cranberries is that Ocean Spray makes a good cranberry drink.
You know what? It's kind of bunches. Yeah, look at this. Sorry, everyone on the podcast who listening who can't see this, but I think that counts as bunches. Cranberries?
Oh, okay, yeah. Like what Will's showing me, it's a branch off of a tree, a normal looking tree, and there's like clusters of like red, just very round red, like balls, right? But yeah.
By the way, I love cranberry juice. It's my favorite of the juices.
Yeah, cranberry juice is really good.
Love me that stuff.
But yeah, I always thought ambrosia of like a I guess like a grape style type of
like spilling
fruit
out of a cornucopia.
Yeah, like that. And I always pictured it to be this weird amber color, like an amber, like the color of sap.
Yeah, that's definitely. I pictured the drink almost like a golden orange hue.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
And it just because it looks appealing. Who knows what it would taste like? It does, but it just looks appealing.
But even that color evokes honey or flower nectar.
That is true.
There it is.
Well, mine is let me see.
I'm hoping yours gives me ideas because when I'm like fictional food, I don't fucking know.
The problem is I don't know, how fictional. Well, yeah, it's fictional because there wouldn't be, but it's from the Star Trek universe. Okay. Right? Yeah. So, but there's so much different food there from different planets or, alien races and stuff. Yeah. But the two, and I've already mentioned one, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. One would be Klingon food, right? It just looked good to me. A lot of it looks like it would be kind of like seafood, right?
Okay.
A lot of seafood,
Like
but
crustaceans.
yeah, crustaceans, even like octopus.
It's not like Galaxy Quest, right? Where they make the poor guy and it's like a fucking live beetle.
No.
I don't think
No. I don't think it's like that.
Okay.
But the other thing, there's two other things in there. One of them's not a food; it's a drink.
Okay.
But the food is the Bajorans, right? They are these they're a race of people where a lot of them are getting killed off, right? And if you're in a Bajoran, you're usually a part of some kind of like a freedom fighter, rebellion. You're a part of something like that, right? Well, every time they had an episode that involved the Bajorans, they would talk about this food called Hasperat.
Okay.
Right? And the thing that I gathered most about Hasperat is that it is spicy, and it's supposed to be spicy, right? Mm-hmm. And every time they talk about it, they don't talk about it all the time in great detail, but I do remember on some of the episodes, they would, someone would be like, hey, I made you Hasperat. I know that you like this, right? And they would eat it and they would go, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Because no one could get the correct recipe of how to make the best, spiciest Hasperat.
Specific.
Yeah. And every time I remember somebody making it and somebody finally eating it, they would always go they would eat it and say, oh yeah, it's okay. And they were like, but man, no one can make Hasperat like my grandmother, or no one can make Hasperat like my grandpa,
Right. Well, that makes me think the food seems to be tied to the nostalgia emotion.
Yeah,
almost.
Probably. I think it is because of the fact that, a lot of their clan or their race has been killed off.
Right. Right. So they're
in active war.
Recipes.
Yeah. Their planet is in active war. And then the other one was a drink, and it was a Romulan ale. Right?
Oh, okay.
So the thing about Romulan ale that always intrigued me was it was like a bright green, almost like the color of like coolant. Oh, right. Okay. It was like bright green. It has like that like almost neon glow in the dark,
like a Midori
green.
sour.
Even greener, Midori sour is like you can see through it. Yeah. Right. No, this is like
green, but you can't see
cloudy,
through.
Yeah, green that you can't see through.
It looks
kind
radioactive.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And every time they would talk about it, it was so cool because it was contraband. Mm. It would be equivalent to having Cuban cigars, because back in the day Cuban cigars were contraband because
sorry to pause you here. I'm just curious, how do you enforce a contraband in a world in which replicators exist?
Oh, well, the problem is the replicators could never replicate
something that's illegal.
Well, no, not that, but just it would never do it justice. And I also believe it couldn't replicate it perfectly to get that taste. Let's say if you had real Romulan ale and then you had it replicated, you would taste that and be like, "Oh, this tastes like shit."
Does that cross over to all food? Replicated food? Does replicated food taste like shit?
So on the show, they do actually mention that, where they're they keep saying I had to go in and tell the computer specific adjustments to make in the replicator to make my dessert I always have better than what the default setting for that food would have been. Yeah.
So you can tweak it to a certain degree.
You can tweak it to a certain degree.
So if one knew how to make Romulan ale, you could probably get the replicator to tweak it fairly well, right?
Yes, but with one huge exception. What? I don't think the replicators will replicate alcohol for you. So it uses what they call synthahol. Right? And yeah, that's what they call it. It's it's like a fake alcohol, right? Where
it's alcohol. Why won't it do alcohol?
It doesn't give you all the same effects of drinking alcohol because they want you to be sharp and ready on the ship just in case something happens. So they don't allow any.
Is that just on the ship then? The replicators?
Oh, I think it's just on the ship. Yeah. They don't really show a lot of replicator stuff happening
anywhere else.
Because most of it takes place
on the ship. Yes, I understand.
But yeah, it's just every time they talk about how strong this ale is and how good it well, I don't know necessarily how good it tastes because you drink any hard liquor, I don't know who's going to say it really tastes great, but it's just, I've always dreamed about having those Klingon food, Romulan ale, and Hasperat.
Nice. Those are good examples. All right. So I have a few. I had to do some Googling to jog my memory. One is from Lord of the Rings and it is an elven thing called lembas bread. And it's in a couple scenes.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And the thing about the bread, I don't think they do a good job in the movies of like expressing like what the bread's like. But the bread is actually, it's really light and flavorful. And even just having a small amount, you feel totally satisfied.
That's okay.
And the thing is, it's what makes it so Frodo and them can get to Mordor because it's so far away. There's no food or water in between.
And they didn't need that much of it.
Yeah. And they use the lembas bread. That's how they get that far. So that'd be nice to try, just to try it.
That's a very good one because actually when you mention that right now, I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Oh, really?
When I watch the movie, I do always wonder what how do you say it?
Lembas bread?
Yeah, lembas bread tasted like.
Yeah.
I always wondered that.
It's supposed to taste really good.
Because it looks like some kind of a biscuit to me.
Yeah, it's like a biscuit. It's like a dry snap bread.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And that's how it's described in the books.
They don't describe any flavor to it. Other than that, it's just really.
I remember it's supposed to taste very good. Like I almost want to say it's like a sweet bread. So
I wonder, but like because that's from the elves, right? Is that made is it like that because they
only
make it with
elves
magic?
Make it. Only the elves make it. No one knows how they make it.
Oh,
so, I don't know. I'm sure someone does. Maybe in the Silmarillion it was written about, but I don't know. But Krabby Patties.
What?
SpongeBob SquarePants? Krabby Patties?
Oh, I've never. I've seen some episodes of SpongeBob, but I've never really watched it.
A Krabby Patty it's just a hamburger, right? It's from the Krusty Krab. It's where SpongeBob works. And the Krusty Krab is like this really old, rundown hole in the wall that Mr. Krabs, the owner, he's really greedy. So this place is it's a piece of shit. But the Krabby Patty, specifically the ones SpongeBob makes, are so good. Like, entire, peoples lose their mind over these burgers that get made by SpongeBob SquarePants.
But these people, these are all under the water?
It's all underwater, right? The thing is, the Krabby Patty has a secret recipe that only Mr. Krab knows. He keeps it in his vault. And there's a rival, there's a rival restaurant called the Chum Bucket where this bad guy, a plankton named Plankton, he's always trying to steal it. Anyways, so much of the show actually does surround how delicious Krabby Patties are. I'd love to try one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're really.
Do they ever explain anything of how they make it or what's?
I mean,
in
SpongeBob
it
just grills it. He just grills these things, and there's even a whole episode where Squidward, who works there as well, he's never had one, but also he's just never. It just looks like a hamburger to him, so it just looks like nothing special. And he refuses to believe it's special until he has one. And then the addiction starts and he can't stop eating them. So Krabby Patty, top of my list. Last one, Everlasting Gobstopper in Willy Wonka.
Oh, Willy Wonka.
Specifically the ones from the one with Gene Wilder. When he pulls it out, it doesn't look comfortable to sit in the mouth as a candy. Yeah. But it's the colors. It looks, I just want to try it so bad. I remember even as a kid, I've always wanted to try the Everlasting Gobstopper. Yeah,
that would be troublesome though, if there was a candy that literally never ran out. I mean, you know what? I don't know. That would be interesting. If you had a candy like that, right? Mm-hmm. Would that be something that, let's say you're like a dietitian or someone would be like, yeah, you should get that because then you're not eating any other candies. Hopefully,
no, you don't want that because you're going to rot your fucking teeth out.
But you would probably, you'd still brush. I'm not saying that you would be eating it and never take it out of your mouth.
It is a type of food that lends itself to being put in the mouth and not taken out for an extended period of time. You will rot your teeth out.
It'll be into that long that your teeth will rot.
Imagine you just pop it in while you're working. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, an hour and a half went by. You just had a lump of never-ending sugar just coating and getting into every crack and crevice, and all the bacteria is coming in now and just gnawing away. And
you're just bringing back my childhood now. Yeah. I'm thinking about all the time I've had candy in my mouth when I was in class somewhere, and just
I would like to try an Everlasting Gobstopper, Tom. Mm-hmm. I would never wish them into existence.
Yeah, you know what though too, that brings up the fact. Then if you always have that and you're always sucking on it, would you after a while eventually your teeth would also be shifting inwards, right?
From all the sucking on it. Yeah, that's true. That's another thing too. But so that's all I got.
I was really expecting you to, and again, I actually don't know if there is something fictional in Pokemon, but I was thinking maybe you would go with something in there. No. But do they have, in Pokemon universe, it's normal food, right?
Okay, so what gets eaten in the world of Pokemon is very controversial. In the beginning, number one, in the beginning, they showed that there were regular animals and Pokemon in the animes and manga.
Okay.
And they really slid away from that, which led to another problem of like, well, what does everybody eat? We know Pokemon eat other Pokemon. That's part of the food chain. Yeah. And like, there's science about that. And I'm pretty sure there are scenes with like fried Magikarp on the fucking table. So.
Oh, of people?
Yeah. I'm pretty, like, there's enough evidence there to show that people do eat Pokemon.
Oh.
Like, but why wouldn't you? Like, it's just like we eat.
Because I guess they're like animals too.
Yeah,
right?
But the difference here is, Pokemon are intelligent. And we know that.
Ooh,
like, they have full communication, you know what I mean?
Even Magikarp?
Even Magikarp.
Oh, okay.
Like, you could talk to your Magikarp. You won't be able to understand what it's saying to you, but
will it understand what you're saying to it?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Like,
well,
I would say the dumbest Pokemon are like at the level of a dog, with the smartest being 1,000 times smarter than a human being.
Oh,
like,
wow.
they range, like Mewtwo or Alakazam have IQs of like 1,000.
Oh, okay.
So it ranges, but they slid way away from that the further along the timeline you go, and now everyone seems to eat basically vegetarian. You only ever see them eating like rice balls or salads if we're talking about people, and all the Pokemon that eat like berries or like special Pokemon food that like breeders
like treats
make and stuff
or something
like that.
like
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Okay. So the answer to your question, Tom, is no.
Oh, okay. I know. No, I did find that interesting because in my head, the whole time I was thinking like, well, and this was because I didn't know that. Yeah. But like, I was thinking like, oh, probably go with Pokemon. And then I did start to think, well, is there special food in Pokemon? Like in the universe of Pokemon? You know what I mean? Like,
here's the question, Tom. If you had to eat like a Pokemon served however you want, what Pokemon would you be most interested in tasting?
Oh my God. If I had to eat a Pokemon, well, with what you just told me about that like intelligence thing, I'd feel so bad now. Like, even though.
In this, you have to.
Okay. You know what? Oh man. I would have to go with Kingler.
I was going towards one of the crustaceans too. I was like, oh yeah, give me that giant crab arm.
Yeah, dude. I think Kingler would, as long as it, is just like a crab, I think Kingler would be.
I would,
so good.
Since you took Kingler, I'll take a Toro steak. Toro steak?
I didn't think about that. That would probably, I wonder if that would be tough meat.
I don't know.
Right? Because they're battling all the time? Or not all the time.
I mean, you could always get a Miltank. That's the female version of Tauros. Give me a Miltank steak.
Oh, that's true. That would probably be so tender. Oh my God. Dude, imagine that melting in your mouth. But I feel so bad knowing what it looks like. I'm like, oh my God, no. And you know what sucks too is like, I know what cows look like. I'm like, so, I'm Mr. like, order me a steak. You know what I mean?
Yes, you are. You're very, very into steaks.
I was just thinking too, like, imagine going to a restaurant and be like, how's the Kingler claw? You know what I mean? And they're like, well, we have a Kingler claw on special tonight. It's market price. You know what I mean? And that thing would probably be so expensive because how big is the Kingler?
Oh yeah, Kingler's huge. Kingler's gigantic. That claw's like
it's bigger than a human, isn't it?
I mean, no, because like it probably only stands about 4 feet tall, but probably 4 feet wide. So in some ways, it is probably heavier than most humans.
The claw? You mean like
no? I'm talking about the Kingler itself. Oh, it's about 4 feet tall, 4 feet wide. I'd say.
Dang! So that claw's going to be like you probably could feed 4 people like pretty good, pretty well.
In all honesty, I actually rather eat. I know you don't know Pokemon that well, but I rather than eat a Kingler, I'd rather eat a Crawdon because they're based off of crawfish.
Oh, and I do know which one you're talking about.
I like crawdads better than I like crab in real life.
Yeah,
and that sucker's big too. He's bigger than Kingler. Let me show you a Crawdon.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, Crawdon looks like he would be tasty.
Man, now I kind of feel like I would be trying to hunt these or like opening up a specialized restaurant.
Crawdon.
Oh man! But you know what I always didn't like about those is like in real life the crawdads. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is I always have to get them pre-shelled, the shell area.
That's fine. You can
but like imagine having to do it
to shell that sucker.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You probably have to have special tools, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That you're hitting there like kink, kink, kink. But dude, could you imagine?
Breaking news, a new study suggests leaving an iTunes review is very important for newly created podcasts. So to nurture your new favorite podcast, make sure to leave an iTunes review. This has been Fritz Frivolous, reminding you to like, comment, and subscribe. Will and Tom, back to you.
Just one sec. All right, finally. Pizza time. So, how much do... hello? What? Really? Did he just leave the pizza box right in front of the door on the floor? What? Wait a minute. There's only one slice in here. Hey, thanks for the pizza, dude. Cowabunga! I love being a turtle! And we're back.
Indeed.
So, at the beginning of the first question, I did tell you that these are both going to be somehow tied together.
Yes,
right?
I'm curious as to how.
And now I can tell you why.
Okay.
So, the actual conversation we were having was Haley was stating how she always, when she would watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon, and they would eat pizza, she said she would have to have pizza, but she said she would want their pizza because of the way that
it looks
their
like
pizza looks
super
like,
stringy and melted.
yeah, and I was telling her too, like even the weird sound effect that they put with them eating it, I wouldn't associate with eating pizza. It was weird.
Yeah,
it sounded weird when they ate it, but it oddly made me hungry.
That's interesting because I don't remember. Like I have watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I remember watching some episodes as a kid. It was very, very slightly right before my time.
Okay.
But I mean, I did see them and I remember enjoying them, but I don't remember the sound that was made.
It was like this weird. You know what? I hope I could find it when I'm editing this episode, and I'll try to put it in there.
I'd love to. But
it was this weird, like I can't even make it with my mouth. I can't even do it. It was just this weird.
Strange.
Yeah, it was just. I don't know. It just wasn't what I would think the sound would be in a cartoon of eating pizza. But that leads me to the next question. What if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were real?
Okay. Oh, then before we actually tackle that question, because you were talking about like the sound of the food and it actually made you hungry. You know what's a movie? And you never think of this movie as being the movie that makes a person hungry. It's a movie that I love. It's a phenomenal movie. And it also, there are two very specific scenes that every time I watch it make me extraordinarily hungry.
Silence of the Lambs?
No. And it's not because of the visual of what they're eating. As a matter of fact, I can't even think of the visual of what they look like. It's because of the Foley work that's done. For some reason, the sounds literally make me hungry. It's Jurassic Park. And
what?
Yeah, there are two scenes. So one scene is kind of towards the beginning when what's the old guy's name? The guy who made the park.
Oh,
the Scottish dude with the glasses.
I don't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
love his character, but he's basically trying to get the scientists on board, right? And they're all having dinner, and the dinner comes out, and he's like, "It's chili and sea bass or whatever," and they're eating while they're talking, and there's something about the sound of the forks and the plates and the colors that just I've always really wanted to try that plate.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. The other scene, and this scene's even more poignant, it's when, I think it's the kids, it's the two kids for sure, and maybe one of the adults, but I think it might just be the two kids, and it's towards the end. They're all fucked up from everything that's been going on, and they make their way into the cafeteria, and I think they're eating ice cream. They find ice cream. And
I do remember
eating.
that, yeah.
And there's just something about the sound of them eating this ice cream that, as a kid, always made me really hungry.
Man, I know this is still like we're continuing question one here,
yeah.
but no, you do bring up this fact that I do remember every time, and it's a lot of it happens in TV shows. Whenever they're eating something, you know, they're not really eating.
No,
when they're doing it, they have to,
yeah.
But they always make the clinkety clinks of their, you know, the utensils on the plate, and that noise always made me get hungry too. I'm always like, you know, but then when you really eat, you don't really make that much noise. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Like,
some people are noisy
maybe
eaters.
Some people do.
Okay, so what if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles actually existed? Do we have parameters?
You know, no real parameters, but I'm sure probably our fans are familiar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In case you're not, I just wanted to go over certain things. So there are 4 turtles, right? And basically, they're a fictional superhero quartet of like anthropomorphic turtle brothers, right? And, you know, we have like, and each of them is kind of a little differently. The show gained, actually it came from a comic book, right? In 1984. And it was, created by Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman. And the thing about it was, it mostly gained a lot of popularity in the cartoons, like probably in the late 80s, early 90s. And, the origin story is, so they became mutants after a truck carrying a canister of radioactive goo. And that's, I always remember they called it either goo or ooze.
Yeah,
right?
ooze. I remember ooze.
Yeah, spilled the chemicals onto baby turtles that had been accidentally dropped into a New York City sewer. There they were found by the rat Splinter, who trained them in ninja fighting skills so they could protect innocents from a gang of evil ninjas called the Foot, or the Foot Clan, led by an enemy dubbed Shredder. Now, like, obviously back when I was a kid and I was watching this, it never dawned on me until now when I was kind of looking into this. I was like, well, if that happened to the Ninja Turtles and that's how they became like that, how did Splinter become, how did he become the way he did?
Splinter was bent down there too.
Well, no, actually it said, that Splinter was highly intelligent for his species, right? And was already watching. He was
a highly intelligent lab rat. He got hit by the ooze too. I'm 99% sure. Because
on here it said the origin for Splinter in both the original comics and the live action movies. Splinter is the pet.
What about the cartoons? Because that's what I remember. I remember the cartoons.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe they did change it. Because I do know that they had
it was
like
4 turtles and a rat that all got hit by the ooze.
Oh, no. I never remember that. I never remember Splinter being a part of that.
I remember, but maybe I'm misremembering.
I remember him saving the turtles after they got the ooze, bringing them in.
Oh, so he's supposed to be a separate experiment.
Which was weird because all they say is that he was the pet rat of a ninja named Hamato Yoshi in Japan.
Okay.
And he would watch Hamato, do his ninja.
And that's how he learned.
And that's how he learned, and he would mimic the movements that Hamato was doing.
So there's something I've been really wanting to say.
Oh, yeah.
So, there are a lot of parallels, and there's a lot of allusion to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles being tied in with a very specific Marvel superhero. Do you know who that is?
All 4 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
The entire everything to do with the Ninja Turtles franchise.
Oh, no.
Daredevil. It's alluded to that the same chemical that hit Daredevil in the face is the same chemical that went down in the sewer, and there's a lot of parallels between the two. They fight the Foot Clan, while Daredevil fights the Hand. And their teacher's name is Splinter, while his teacher's name is Stick.
Wow, I never knew that. You just dropped a bomb of knowledge right now.
Absolutely. Yes,
like
absolutely.
Boom, man.
And I believe the creators also worked on Daredevil at some point in their careers too.
Well, that just makes me love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Daredevil even more.
Yes,
because I already love both of those.
I was waiting.
Wow, I did not know that, but now that you mentioned that, I'm like, oh my god. But you know what? So this was going to actually lead into what I wanted to bring up. Because first of all, if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were real, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, well then what are the implications of this ooze, right? Because, I mean, if you can have this ooze that can, what's the word? Like anthropomorphize,
non-humans.
And non-humans, and then they become almost human. Like,
do we know what ooze does to humans? Does TMNT cover that?
Apparently, it makes someone blind, and then they become really badass vigilantes.
So it can give superpowers.
Yeah.
No, but seriously.
No, you know what? I didn't really look like deeply into that part of it, but I didn't see anything where they readily made available of like what this ooze really was like specifically. You know what I mean?
So before we even get into like the ooze implications, which is a good thing to raise up, let's just get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles things out of the way. Realistically, what would happen if they existed? They're going to be captured and experimented on, and they'll never see the light of day.
Yeah,
they're not even on the level of Spider-Man, right? They're not getting away from the government. There's no way, how, especially in today's day and age with phones everywhere. Like they're going to go down one manhole, and it's over. It's over for them.
The things that they were doing back in that time period where they were hiding, it maybe could be doable because not everyone had those.
Yeah, I argue that it wasn't even actually doable then, but it was more doable than it certainly is now.
Yeah.
So yes, Michelangelo, Leonardo, all of them going into some secret compound. Public will never hear about them again. Mm-hmm. So now let's move on to the ooze.
Yeah, I do agree with that because like obviously, and I do think that was actually mentioned as one of the reasons of why they always hid.
Was because absolutely.
Yeah, because they were afraid of what not just the general public, but I do believe they were afraid like, oh well, this government's going to come by.
Yeah,
because that kind of goes back to the implication of the ooze because they're going to want to know what did this ooze like did specifically to their DNA, to this turtle DNA. You know what I mean? And if you're correct, or not correct, but like, if like with the theory or whatever you're saying that Daredevil and them are connected through this ooze, why did it only cause blindness for when it interacts with a human, and then it didn't do anything else? Like,
well, you got to remember unofficial lore because it's made by two completely different companies.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just alluded to. It's
but
alluded
now
to.
I want them to make something that's like totally.
I think they've had crossovers between the two. I think they have. I swear they have.
Yeah, I do remember
I'm gonna Google
seeing
that now.
Yeah, I do actually remember seeing they did other crossovers too. I think they did one with.
They've done one with Batman. That one was supposed to be really good, actually.
Well, not to get totally off topic here, but I don't know if you ever played or you seen any of the Arkham games. For Batman.
Yeah.
So I heard that there was a rumor that they were supposed to be making a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, but based in the style of Arkham City, right? Or Arkham Asylum. And I thought that would have been perfect for the Ninja Turtles because they need to have something. I liked when the Ninja Turtles, I think when they came out in the comic books, it was kind of dark. It wasn't like the cartoons you remember, like where they're so friendly and Cowabunga dudes and all this kind of stuff. Like it was more like I'm not going to say that they didn't have any of that in there, but it was more serious. I thought it was like more, like they're going to kick ass and
Here's a quick question: who's your favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Donatello.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, why?
That's the right answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
part of it is because he's the only sane one amongst the four. The other three are crazy.
Yeah.
But
I remember, I used to have like I had the action figures and I had the play set, the sewer play set and everything. And a lot of times when you buy these action figures, they would have the character stats on the back.
Oh,
right.
Interesting.
And one of them, I remember the reason why I loved Donatello was he was the strongest. He was the smartest, even though he was the slowest. And when I was growing up, I was always kind of one of the bigger kids. So like, I wasn't the fastest, but I was very smart, and I was stronger amongst my friends because like I was the bigger one.
Right.
And so I loved and the bow staff. I always thought the bow staff to me was a very practical weapon. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like you could create distance.
Reach,
yeah, exactly. It has reach, distance and Donatello. That's the right answer.
For me, Raph's a fucking jerk and a maniac. Michelangelo he's got problems, man. I wouldn't be able to deal with him as a person. And then Leonardo is just a little self-righteous. So
yeah, exactly. My brother's was Raphael, and I remember sometimes when my brother would be a dick to me, or because he's my older brother. Yeah, and it made total sense that he was like, "Oh, I love Raphael." You know what I mean?
How did you fucking do?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I know why.
But yeah, that ooze, people want to get their hands on it. I wish I knew a little bit more about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because I'm trying to think, what is their beef with Shredder again? Besides the fact that Shredder's just an evil asshole.
Yeah, you know what? I always forgot why. I always thought it had something to do with the history between Splinter and Shredder. Yeah. But then, actually, what I think, and I could be totally off, but because I'm pulling this from way back in 1990. Okay,
right.
I'm pulling this out of my back of my brain here. Uh-huh. I think Shredder and Hamato Yoshi had a thing. They had beef. Yeah, they had beef. And I think Shredder killed him.
Okay.
And which wanted Splinter to make sure that either he killed him or it was something like where he just knew because of the interaction they had that Shredder was evil.
Right.
And then, obviously Splinter, he loses he's living in the sewers now, and he raises the turtles to combat that evil because he knows the Shredder's back. Yeah. I think it was something like that, and if it wasn't, it should be.
I mean, you're the expert in this field. I'm just taking you at your word at this point. Yeah. But yeah, so everyone's going to want to get their hands on the ooze, and obviously the ooze fell off a truck, right? Is that how that happened?
It says that it was.
So that ooze exists. There's a company out there in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that has that ooze, and they know what it does, and they're doing stuff with it.
And if it follows in the cartoon, well, I mean, I even think in some of the comics too, because then you're right. Somebody is doing something with it. The fact that there was this truck carrying it makes you think, is this waste? Is this something that just happened to be a byproduct?
Could be.
And this company
disposed of.
Is carrying it to dispose of it.
So no one knows what it really does.
Or so nobody knows what it really does. Or did somebody purposely make this ooze and this company now is carrying it to another lab for testing or whatever?
Some sort of animal man army.
Which they did try to do because you had Rocksteady, Bebop.
Oh, yeah. Don't they serve Shredder? So is Shredder the one? Does he own that company?
I don't know if he owns it. Well, yeah, he may be some kind of evil,
I'm Googling this.
Entrepreneur. You know what I mean? I don't remember, to be honest. Like, this is so long ago for me, but.
He's fucking shredded and he fucking loves capitalism.
Yeah, I know.
Shredder.
Yeah, he's the one that, Bruce Wayne competes with, Wayne Tech,
Absolutely.
But, actually, while you're looking at that, I should go through some of these stats that I got, just so people could get a refresher if they're not familiar. Leonardo, the one that wears the blue bandana, his notable aliases is Leo. His abilities: highly skilled in ninjutsu, Olympic level agility, speed, and strength. Keen strategist, master of stealth, mastery of kenjutsu and aido, master of odachi and katana swordsman.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just forgot how fucking cool Shredder looks.
Oh,
looks
I know.
Amazing.
Yeah. Master of qigong, mastery of various forms of hand-to-hand combat, exceptional leadership skills, enhanced slicing and slashing via his swords, obviously. And then it says that he had healing abilities. I guess it was in 2012 series via the Healing Hands. He also knows archery and the use of shuriken, which are like ninja stars. Yeah. And then Michelangelo's the orange bandana. They call him Mikey. And he is highly skilled in ninjutsu, Olympic level agility, speed, and strength, master of stealth, master of kobudo, mastery of kusarigama, and nunchaku. Which I always thought was another cool weapon, the nunchucks.
Yeah, but I think they're extremely impractical.
Yeah,
I think they're made for like practice of hand-to-hand coordination, but they're not made for actual combat.
Yeah, and then just like we were talking about with the bow staff, like you can do so much more. You don't have to just use it for fighting. But nunchucks, I see a limited use of what else.
There's a funny video. I don't know who the guy is, but he's like a dude who's like an expert in like ancient like battle techniques of like Eurasia. And he goes on a rant about the nunchaku and how impractical it is, and how it's a piece of shit, and how like a stick is better than two sticks tied together.
Right, really I know. Funny. Like it would,
So here's what I got on the ooze. Mutagen, aka the ooze, is a chemical substance that comes from Dimension X, and the reason why the Ninja Turtles and many of their friends and foes were created into what they are today, mutants. Not much is known about ooze or how it works, but we do know that the Krang have brought it to Earth to perfect it and test it on many humans. So who the fuck are the Krang? I don't know.
Krang, you don't remember Krang?
No,
he was like that
looks
pink
like a brain alien.
Yeah, and he's in this giant.
He looks a lot like that Marvel character, MODOK. He looks a lot like MODOK, doesn't he?
No, he
don't
doesn't
think
look
so?
like MODOK. He's because MODOK's like a giant head.
Oh, you're right. This guy goes into a bodysuit.
Yeah, he's like in the gut of a big body, mechanical body.
It's semi-MODOK-ish. But yeah,
it's MODOK inspired.
So it comes from an alien dimension. I'm done with it. So that's going to be the thing. Everyone's going to want the ooze. Everyone's going to want to know what this alien dimension is.
So I guess technically the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are X-Men. I mean, if they could, like, if they're mutants, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, sure.
Real quick, also too, it said Michelangelo is a talented chef. Even though all the time in the cartoons, I just see him ordering pizza, but then just putting shit on there. Like, I remember one time, I think he's like, "Whoa, dudes! Like, we got whipped cream," and then like he put. I was like, "No,
Michelangelo's a stoner, obviously."
Yeah, no, that's what I was about to say. Like, come on, imagine.
Dude, he annoyed me as a kid. I can't imagine trying to watch that show now.
Man, he annoyed you. Also, Raphael, the red bandana. Notable aliases. This is weird. I always heard them just call him Raph.
Yeah, he's right? Raph, yeah.
They say that other people call him Night Watcher. I have no idea where that came from. But
my other friends call me Night Watcher.
I know, like how you can't do that, you know.
Who are these other friends?
Yeah, he's supposed to be the loner of the group.
No, I think I think it does ring a bell because I feel like there was a point where because he's such a fucking asshole, he decided to split off, and so he can't reveal who he is to people because they're people and he's a fucking alien.
Yeah.
So I think he had like a cloak on and called himself Night Watcher.
Oh,
I think that was the whole thing.
I was just about to say, because you know what Raph actually kind of reminds me of? Rorschach from The Watchmen.
That's interesting. Wow.
I feel like they're similar in the way that they
both
act.
got an anger going on, but I feel like Rorschach has like a deep-seated insanity. Like, well, Raph just has an
like he has
problem.
because I do know that he suffers like a psychological breakdown.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Raph probably not.
No, Raph's just a pissed off teenager.
Yeah, and he's the one that he has basically the same skills as everyone else, except for he has the masteries of the Sai and Tonfa. And then Donatello, the best Ninja Turtle, purple bandana. Yep, alias is Donnie, Don, right? The best. He has all the same thing. Well, actually, no, he doesn't have just all. He has a mastery of ninjutsu, Naginata and the bow, Kabuto and Qigong. But he has the genius level intellect, and he's a scientist, engineer, and inventor. And I always thought that was the cool thing about him. However, when you translate it into the movies that came out, I know I'm probably going to catch some flack from people.
I never watched the movies, so.
Yeah, they're made for kids. But, like, I don't like the fact, okay, I like that he's a scientist, engineer, and inventor.
Sure.
But the stuff that he invents in this movie, I'm like, there is no way you found that type of material and those resources and this, that you could, in this sewer that you can make whatever the stuff you made.
Of course not.
I wish, like, in my, opinion, I hope that someday they would make a slightly more adult movie with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
They made a modern one, right? Like what? Like 8 or 9 years ago?
Yeah, they did.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Was it good?
Well, it's okay. I mean, but that's the thing. There was a lot of stuff. It was they wanted to do merchandising and they wanted to appeal to kids. Yeah, that's the downfall I see of that movie. To me, I want that.
It wasn't an epic piece of art.
No. I want that serious, like, this is going to be a serious, like Batman Begins type.
You want? Oh wow,
yeah,
that would be.
Know what I mean?
We're never getting that, Tom. I mean, I would be very happy if we did, but like, I can't imagine them trying to pitch to a studio. Okay, it's going to be just like Batman Begins, but with Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. I wish it would, but you're right. It's probably never going to happen. But I do want to just to recap so we could go back. If the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did exist, they would be hounded by our government.
Yes, they'd be done for.
I don't think that, especially because, a lot of the New York underground, the sewers, like, they know a lot about that now. They know where a lot of tunnels lead. They know, I do know that there are certain parts of, like, old abandoned subways and stuff that maybe would be, like, reasonable that they would probably use it as a hideout. But guess what? They would know where that is too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say the minute they're spotted, they got a week before they're captured. Mm-hmm. All of them.
And you're right. The public would hound them. There would be people you'd probably for their YouTube channel or whatever for their podcast. I went out and look what I saw, going out here, whatever. I went to, Joe's Pizza and look at the.
I wonder what stupid name we would come up for them, in real life. Like, obviously, we wouldn't have the name Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So what would we call these four beings? You know what I mean? What stupid name would we come up with? The Turtle Men.
The Turtle
Man Turtles.
Man Turtles. Like, it would be something stupid.
Yeah.
Because, like, the people who do, like, the Associated Press.
There'd probably be conspiracies about, like, the turtle people that live beneath the crust of the earth.
Yeah, and that they were here first. Yeah. And now they're rising with a rebellion.
Back to retake the land.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I do think, you're right. I do think that would happen. But I think more importantly, I think the implications of having this quote unquote ooze would be the most disastrous part.
Yeah. If a government got their hands on it, which I guess they inevitably would, then it would start getting used and it might take some time before like we saw like some serious like effects on society, but like eventually it's just going to change completely the trajectory of where society goes in the future.
Yeah. I mean, we would only hope then that if the Ninja Turtles were true, so is Daredevil, they team up, boom, stop our government from doing that.
Mm-hmm, indeed.
But dude, could you imagine?
And now we join Will and Tom for some international news.
It's Will and Tom with international news. We're going to go check in on some iTunes reviews we got, but this time, Will, we're going to travel all the way up to Canada.
All right, let's go.
So, we have 2 5-star reviews. on Apple Podcasts. Woohoo! This is, they're both from Canada. And George Mills says, great podcast. Tom does a great job thinking up cool questions, and Will always makes me think.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it.
You do make us think, Will. You make us think how choosing immortality is a
bad.
Horrible mistake.
It's true.
And then our second one is from Jules Rowland? Jules Rowland.
Thank you, Jules. What did Jules have to say?
He said, super thought-provoking and hilarious. Recently discovered this podcast, and it's a hoot. Tom and Will are hilarious. Love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jules.
Thank you, Jules.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. We love to hear from everyone around the world, no matter where you are. If you would love to leave a review, please do so, and we would love to read about it.
Indeed. And also feel free to reach out to us at our email if you have any questions that you want Tom to propose to me or just to say hi.
Yeah, we would definitely love to see that too.
What's our email? Is it dudecouldyouimagine@gmail.com?
Yep, dudecouldyouimagine@gmail.com.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out. We want to hear from you guys. We'd love to hear some feedback too.
Yes, tell your friends. Tell your friends about us and force them to listen to us.
Indeed. Sounds good.
And that is all we have for you tonight. We will continue to bring you up-to-date coverage as new imaginings develop. Please don't forget to leave an iTunes review, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Remember, you can follow us on YouTube and on Twitter at DCYImagine. And if you would like to contact us or tell us what you are imagining, you can email us at dudecouldyouimagine@gmail.com. This has been Fritz Frivolous, and from all of us here at Dude Could You Imagine, keep on imagining.
Dude, that actually turned out to be really good. I like that because I didn't think about, like, eating Pokemon.
That's hilarious. Man, that's hilarious how you start the conversation mentioning Haley, who is a vegan, and you end that question talking about cannibalizing Pokemon to suck out their meat.
That is hilarious, actually.